that they won at home against a side that they should beat at home. Keep a clean sheet as well. New manager once again, and you'd want to start the season off right. The last thing you want to do as a new manager, slip up against a newly promoted side, have the fans kind of start to question, start the season poorly. Now, there's still a lot of work to be done at Tottenham, but to be able to at least start it the right way has to be a big bonus.
And after what happened against PSG, even though we can pardon them for that, it was PSG. This is, Nedum, exactly what Thomas Frank would have wanted.
Yeah, of course. Your first game in front of your home fans, and the game against Burnley, it's a tricky one because people expect you to win.
Correct.
Yeah.
So
And comfortably.
So they're looking at other things.
And they won comfortably, right?
Correct.
Well, yeah, I guess so. In the end, they did. But I think the finishes, the joy, the feeling, the new players, like the manager on the sideline, like they want to have a sense of hope. I think that's the importance at the start of the season. If you start on the back foot, the team's not playing well, you lose your first game against a newly promoted side.
At home.
Then it feels like last season, but this will feel fresh to them and all the belief will be there.
Stevie, what stood out from you from this Thomas Frank Tottenham?
Well, what stood out was the fact that we didn't have full-backs standing in the opposition penalty box. We didn't have centre-backs dribbling 5 and 6 people, and there was a shape defensively when they lost the ball. You know, under Ange, it was exciting to watch, but when they lost the ball and turned it over, there was
maybe exciting as a neutral, Stevie.
Well,
maybe not exciting
not as a warm defender.
Well, exactly. I mean, today you had Verval and Gray and Sarr, who really didn't move anywhere other than middle of the field. And so when the ball was turned over, they were able to close the ball down. Now, it's really difficult to get too carried away because of the opposition.
Yeah.
Burnley are clearly... The only thing that Burnley are striving for is to be fourth bottom. And that's just the truth. But at the end of the day, you can only do what you do. And if Richarlison keeps scoring goals like that, if Kudos keeps taking on defenders, I mean, the crowd were loving it. He was megging people, he was flicking it around. I mean, he was doing all kinds. Then you've got Johnston scoring his goal. You've got your middle three don't go anywhere. And then your back four are solid. I mean, the two centre-backs must have loved this today. All of a sudden, they had somebody there to help them. It wasn't 1v1 all the time. I mean...
1v1 from midfield.
Yeah, a defender's dream. But that was, for me, that was the biggest thing. The shape, when they lost the ball, was 100 times better, I'm afraid.
Can we just
have
a little petition to change Kudos' name to Kudos, as Stevie just called it?
Well, it wouldn't be right if I got the name right, would it?
Well, it was Kudos to Kudos. That could be a segment. That could be a segment.
Yeah, there you go.
A much-needed area for Thomas Frank to address at Spurs, and has he gotten it right?
Well, we can say he's gotten it right today.
Yeah.
You know, certain elements of the game against PSG probably weren't great, especially in the terms of the amount of possession that they had and how they sort of brought pressure on themselves from the PSG standpoint.
Yeah.
But today feels much better. And I think the concern going into the match, from as I saw it, was, say, Archie Gray's starting the game. We've not really seen that much when everyone's been available. Because you brought in Palhinha, you brought him over from Bayern Munich. So how come he's not in that position? And that midfield then with him, with Bergvall, with Sarr, that's a really young midfield. And today's a day for them to play and for them to do well. But I wonder what it's going to be like in the next games to come. But as far as like a good start goes, it's great. And as Stevie said, the players probably understand it and can buy into it a little bit more. I think to go back to when Ange first came to Spurs, because they were successful, people were buying into it, even though it felt different. But then as soon as it's not going well and he sticks to the principle, you kind of want change. And I think maybe at the times the players didn't believe in it, but this feels far easier to understand.
It's kind of a strange... You're excited. You know, when Ange came in and the way he had them playing, as a player, it's exciting. It's like, that's like being a kid again, running all over the place and standing in the penalty box as if you're the centre forward. But to go from that to what they're doing now is also exciting, particularly for the defensive side of the game, because now you always feel as though you're in a game. You always feel as though you're going to be solid. Nobody's going to beat us, and if they do, they're going to have to be at their best. I mean, either way is exciting as a player.
Talking about the other side of the pitch now and the more attacking roles there, the latest rumours and news that we're hearing in terms of transfers is that your good mate, Eberechi Eze, is probably
so
closer.
So many mates on the show, by the way.
Yeah, well, that's what happens when you're Nedum Onuoha, right? Friends in high places,
just a little
everywhere.
bit younger, that's all it is.
Just a little bit, yeah, you are a bit younger. No offence to everyone else. But Eberechi Eze, we've been talking about this now. It seems like Spurs is likely to be the destination over an Arsenal now, Nedum. After what you've seen from Spurs, what do you think of that?
I'm not 100% sure. And when we say over Arsenal, does that mean that both offers are on the table and he's choosing Spurs? Or does it mean Spurs have managed to get their way in with Crystal Palace?
They got the first offer in, maybe.
Yes.
And we're able to,
for me personally, I think he's capable of playing for Arsenal, a team that's going to be, in the Champions League year in, year out, and potentially going for a league title. I'd prefer to see him there personally. But it's not to say that the opportunity at Spurs isn't in some ways a bigger and better one than being at Crystal Palace. Seeing a Crystal Palace side that haven't invested heavily in their squad. They're going to be playing in the Conference League this year, which is great. But then to put it into context, that cup win last year was like, we can joke around, most people joke around the fact that Spurs didn't win anything for 14, 15 years, however long it was. But for Palace, that's a whole entirety of their existence as a football club. So the step to Spurs is a significant one. And I hope if he does go there and he plays the Champions League, he can do well. But I think he'd be more suited to an Arsenal style, personally, with a manager in Arteta who'd probably be able to see more attacking outputs from him.
Stevie, when we did Community Shield, you were the one that was saying, just imagine if Eberechi Eze gets to play on a team like an Arsenal or even a Spurs, where, he could just be in amongst the style that you think he will thrive in. Yep. If it does end up being Spurs over Arsenal, would it still be a good fit? Will it still be as big of a jump as Nedum was saying? Yeah,
it's a step up. I think the best players and the most ambitious players want to play in the best teams, and they want to play in the teams that are going to win the biggest trophies. And unfortunately, Spurs are a good side, but they're really not going to be going for the biggest. They ain't going for the Premier League or the Champions League. Whereas Arsenal are in a position where they can go for both of those things. And not only just in terms of playing for a better team, but pushing yourself, testing yourself. Because when you've got the ability he has, the only way you really get complete recognition is by doing it at the very top. If he goes to Spurs and does really well and Spurs don't win another trophy, it'll be, he was really, really good, but, he didn't win a Premier League or a Champions. So, from that point of view, I would love to see him at Arsenal. From a Liverpool point of view, I'd love to see him at Spurs.
Kasey, would you love to see him at Spurs?
Of course.
Yeah.
I think what I just want to see from Spurs is a situation where they're bringing players in, they're keeping players that then are successful for Tottenham as they start to move into being the more competitive side that we've seen, probably, was that 5-6 years ago, where they were challenging for the Premier League title, they were challenging, in a Champions League final, not looking over your shoulder a little bit over relegation and get some stability in the side. Yep. Get some stability in manager, get some stability in squad, and then be competitive at the top of the table. And I think that's where I think Daniel Levy's big next challenge is to not think, okay, we can have the 8th or 9th highest payroll, and if we just change a manager every 18 months, that will make the difference.
Yep. For me, I think this is a really interesting time for him because he's 27 years of age. Yeah. I think whoever signs him now will get the best years of his career because this is somebody that's about to go to that next level with a different tier of coaching, with a bundle of experience behind it and a taste for success. So I think if he does manage to go to an Arsenal, I think what it stands for is I see him somebody who's capable of handling the pressure of trying to win a league title. Because for Arsenal every year in these last few years, they don't arrive into pre-season and say, we're going to try and do as well as we can. They know that they're good enough to win a league title. And I think bringing him someone like that, who has that drive, has that desire, but has the quality and understanding of the league, who is also somebody that can elevate himself to whatever level. Because when he went to Palace, he'd been playing for QPR in the Championship. He made that jump and he's an England international. I think he can go again. And then, like I say, I don't necessarily want him to win a league title, but I think he's very capable of doing that.
Say that a little louder. Let him hear it.
Wherever you are, I don't want you to win a league title. I just want you to try really hard.
Come on, that's not a good friend there. All right, well, elsewhere in the Premier League, Aston Villa hosted Newcastle. Newcastle, we know, have been embroiled in that transfer saga that involves Alexander Isak. They played out a 0-0 draw, and of course, Alexander Isak had no part to play in this game, Stevie, which probably is why Newcastle ended up drawing this one. This is definitely not what Eddie Howe would want.
No, if ever you saw a performance that had "we need a centre forward" written over it, this was it. The front three they had between the three of them last season couldn't match the output of Isak on his own, and it showed. And for the first part of the first half, Newcastle were totally dominant in this game, but they never looked like scoring. They had one opportunity in the whole game. Elanga was through on the goalkeeper. And the goalie made a save, and it's a good save. But he shouldn't have had a chance to save it. After that, nothing. Absolutely nothing. And in the second half, they petered out a little bit. As did Aston Villa, by the way. I mean, I thought this would be a good game, but it was so underwhelming. Neither side going forward looked capable of scoring a goal. And so it really wasn't a surprise it was 0-0. So these two sides I thought would be, certainly I thought Villa would be kicking to get in the top 6. And I thought maybe Newcastle, before the whole Isak thing, I thought they'd be kicking Chelsea's heels to get maybe near the top 4. Now, the two of them, if they play the way they did today, the two of them, they've got no chance of getting anywhere near the top 6, never mind any of them in the top 4.
Well, look, after the game, Eddie Howe spoke, and he was trying to speak up Anthony Gordon and spoke about his skill set as well. But once again, Nedum, what he didn't want is the fact that we are now still talking about Alexander Isak and how this could possibly affect Newcastle going forward in the worst way.
Absolutely. Like, if they would have won this game and say Elanga takes that chance, it's a different conversation. So we don't need to focus on him at all. But any team that doesn't score a goal where one of the top strikers in the league is now unavailable, you're going to have to field those questions. And it's tough for him. You can try and say, oh, this guy did well, that guy did well. There's still something that's missing, as Stevie said. And I think when we talk about Newcastle United, we're used to seeing a number 9 do particularly well for them across all those Premier League years and years beyond. So these next 2 weeks are going to be huge. I think, as you've mentioned there about Villa and about Newcastle, if they're in this current state, then yes, then maybe they won't be in the top 6. But I can't help but feel that change is coming. And for Eddie Howe himself, he'll want that saga to be finished, because when the Isak side is done, it's probably going to be change on the other side of something coming in as well.
Yeah, it has to. Yeah, that's a good point.
If it doesn't, then they're scuppered. They've got the Champions League as well, Newcastle.
Yep.
And I mean, you look at the bench, there's nothing on the bench going forward. So Champions League, Premier League, forget it.